everyone. This is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I'm Dixie.
And I'm Everett.
And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you are not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and the people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs.
This is also a call-in show. We have the number at the bottom of the screen. However, we only have one phone line, so we cannot put anybody on hold. So if you can't get through, we invite you to email us questions at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or eatery. Sometimes we even do karaoke. Tonight's meetup is at Barley's for happy hour tonight after the show for food, drink, and conversation. Look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table. And as Matt Dillahuntty at Atheist Experience says, everyone is welcome to visit our happy hour for food, drink, and conversation. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't.
The monthly activities of the Rationalists of East Tennessee on the first and third Sunday mornings are usually lectures with lively roundtable discussion. The second Sunday is a book club. The March book is Muzzled, the assault on honest debate. The fourth Sunday is a reflections gathering and a potluck afternoon gathering at a member's home.
Visit our websites for additional monthly program details, including times and locations.
In the news,
There we go.
We would like to encourage our members to donate blood and help the community. You can find the location and time for donation by calling Medic at 865-524-3074. You could donate at their headquarters 7 days a week located at
1601 Aylor Avenue.
Okay. They are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and Sunday from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., except on some holidays.
Okay, now we're going to do a bit of news. The biggest thing that we're going to talk about is the Reason Rally in D.C. You can find the Reason Rally website at www.reasonrally.org. It's an event sponsored by many of the country's largest and most influential secular organizations. It's free to attend and will take place in Washington, D.C. on March 24th, 2012 from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the National Mall. There will be music, comedy, speakers, and so much more. We hope you can join us.
While you're in D.C., you may want to check out these additional activities and events going on.
The American Humanist Association will be doing a pre-Reason Rally reception on Friday night, March 23rd. It'll be a chance to meet leaders and staff of the AHA and the Washington area secular humanists. They'll be creating posters and buttons for the rally, and you can meet other attendees. You must RSVP due to limited space. Do it soon.
American Atheists, in conjunction with Atheist Nexus, will host a free after-party held at the Bethesda North Marriott, featuring music by Shelley Siegel, Cash Bar.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. No registration is required unless you wish to eat at the buffet, in which case you must register and pay $45 for the Saturday night dinner. Convention purchase not required.
And another event that's happening, not in D.C., but I think the week after, is Rock Beyond Belief. It's a free event for foxhole atheists stationed at Fort Bragg and atheists in the surrounding area. And it's going to take place on Saturday, March 31st from noon to 8 p.m. at the main post parade field on Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Okay.
Some other events in the news is recently Pat Robertson decided to comment on the tornadoes that rocked Alabama and Tennessee. He said that a caller called in asking why would God allow this to happen. His answer was the people did not pray enough to send the tornadoes away. I think this is personally disgusting, and the fact that you have to justify what your God does that doesn't really hold up to me of his being a worthy God if you have to make excuses for him. That's my personal opinion about that.
And he's really, he's blaming the victim by saying you didn't do something enough, therefore God is punishing you with tornadoes or something.
Well, I guess it's a little bit of evolution for him. He didn't blame the gays this time, so I guess,
Well, yeah, I guess that's evolution, maybe.
It's something. That's all right. Another thing, one of the things that goes directly in our topic, which is about is this a Christian nation, the separation of church and state, is Lenore City, a girl wrote an editorial for a school newspaper about how, as an atheist, she feels discriminated in her own school. The teachers and all vetoed, and the administration vetoed her right to publish it. And of course, the newspaper, Knoxville newspaper, published it, but talked about it, but this goes into the fact that when atheists try to speak out about how they're discriminated, Christians automatically turn around and say, no, you're discriminating against us because we don't have the right to speak.
Yeah.
Which I know in many high schools, including my high school, they had plenty of Christian bands come in and everything. There was never an atheist coming and talk about his faith, but we had Christian bands and Christian programming, and students were allowed to pray at the flagpole and everything. There was never an atheist event for anybody.
And one of the things specifically about the school that this Lenore City student went to, she claimed that the teachers would wear like shirts with crosses on them and write religious excerpts on the chalkboards and stuff, and I just think that's probably inappropriate.
Yeah,
too.
it is. All right. Something else we want to talk about is Sandra Fluke.
Susan Fluke.
Susan Fluke.
Susan Fluke and Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Oh my.
If you haven't heard about this is going back to the contraception debate, which a key word about it being a religious factor is now they like to use the buzzword, it's a moral factor, which is just disguised for religion, because if you looked at the panel they had, it was all religious figures and no women.
And men, yeah. No women.
Because men know what's best for women's birth control. Anyway.
Men that don't actually know how reproductive systems work.
Yeah, this Rush Limbaugh. He pretty much called her a prostitute, saying that she can't afford birth control because she's having so much sex, she has to pay.
So much sex.
She has to have birth control because apparently, according to Rush Limbaugh, every time you have sex, you need to pop a birth control pill, which is not how birth control works at all.
No.
It's a once daily, a month pill, and sometimes they have pills that are less than that.
I mean, there's pills, there's diaphragms, all sorts of contraceptive sort of alternatives to the pill.
I mean, it's also for hormonal health. I mean, some women need it's not because they're going out and having random sex with every guy every night and have to pay $3,000 just to have the pill.
Yeah.
And going on about this, what's funny is they're trying to stage this as a religious debate, but when you look at it, some states already have what Obama proposed on the books about how organizations affiliated with the church, not the church itself, should provide birth control. I mean, states like, liberal states like Georgia.
Really?
I mean,
Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia has it, yeah. Being from there, I know. Georgia has it. I even think Mike Huckabee passed a law for it, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just their way of...
Yeah. Well, the church itself, they condemn using birth control as a form of contraception, but they condone its use for therapeutic reasons. Like if somebody has, like I think ovarian cysts would be a reason, or irregular cycles or something like that. So, I mean, it's so weird that they're picking and choosing, well, we like this drug for this reason, but not this one, so therefore you shouldn't take it.
Also, they provide for Viagra. And there's never been, I mean, at that
fair.
age, it's not, probably not for reproductive purposes.
No.
You don't want, I mean, it might be, I don't know, but I wouldn't think it would be.
Well, even if it is 10% of the time, 90% of the time it's not.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, so it's just hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's going back to trying to control women. Yeah. I mean, that's all they want to do.
Yeah.
Is they want women barefoot in the kitchen, having babies, and making dinner.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a good cook, but on my own terms.
Yeah.
All right, so today's topic is separation of church and state.
All right. Some of the other ways we want to talk about them pushing it is intelligent design. This is basically their way to get Christianity and, I guess, Judaism in a way, into the classroom. So they just basically say that it had to be done by a creator. But when they really played their hand was, I think it was Indiana, who they passed the creation law, but they did also pass it with an amendment that was proposed that, okay, but you also have to teach the origin myths of Scientology and all these other ones, and they vetoed it. Basically because, hey, it includes all these other ones. They really don't want to include it. They want to push their own thing.
Yeah, they tried to sneak in some sort of equality, and it got beat down.
But here's the thing: it's not it's not a debate. The only people that make it debate is the media. I mean, it's not on equal footing at all.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, that's one problem I have with the media is that they try to pretend like having these two people debate and claim they're experts and claim they're equal. It just makes no sense. Most scientists are in agreement. You have your fringe ones who don't, but most scientists are in agreement about it.
And just to remind folks, this is a call-in show, so if we want to call and have a conversation with us, the number's down at the bottom of the screen. It's 215-2288.
All right, so talk to us. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have to the best of our abilities. Okay, so one of the things that the, I guess, anti-separation movement like to debate is the real purpose of the Bill of Rights, and especially, you know, so the separation of church and state, saying that was never explicitly put in there, and yeah, that is true. But if you read the two big players in this, if you read their writings, I mean, Jefferson to the letter to the Danbury Baptist says it creates a wall of separation, and Madison really did not like an affiliated church and government. I mean, these people were, first of all, they knew their history. Second of all, they witnessed it firsthand in the colonies, seeing people put in jail because they preached what was against the church that the state established. And so, I mean, they also knew about things like the Crusades, which was, during that time, during the Crusades, the Pope had a lot of power over many states, because basically, which he has done, if a king rebelled, he would excommunicate the entire country.
He would excommunicate the entire country?
Yes, the entire country. He's done it. One of them did it before, and it's basically a push, because when you mess with people's salvation, they get terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, in that time, you know, the Pope could make or break you. You had to do all these rituals. I mean, people, it's not like it is today.
Well, I mean, there's still fear-mongering.
Yeah, there's still, of course. That's what religion mostly does. But their fear of it was, so they had that fear. And what the Pope did was use that fear.
Yeah.
And use it in a way to grant them salvation. Basically, what you heard, if you think of the Crusades, was really a holy war. For the people, it was, but for the Pope, it wasn't. It was a land grab. He wanted the Holy Land. He pretty much said that they were killing pilgrims over there. He wasn't. The Muslims weren't. They were providing safety for them as they passed through. I mean, it was revenue. It was economy for them.
Yeah.
So basically, he made up this lie about them being barbarians and killing Christians while they go over there, and said, and pretty much used the fact that, hey, if you go fight this war and you die, guess what? You get a free pass to heaven. Your sins are absolved completely.
So I guess that kind of made like really violent, evil people go over there and kill people.
Well,
right?
I mean, before the official crusade, you had the People's Crusade going on, and they slaughtered Jews in the Rhineland. It was, I mean, it was just a horrible mess. They got slaughtered. I mean, they were led by leader Peter the Hermit, who is this hermit who basically could, you know, had to get the gab like most preachers do, and led many of them to their own destruction.
A hermit with the gift of gab?
Yes.
This doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Well, it was self-hermetizing that during that time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that a lot of lies were told to try to get people to do something for them.
Yeah, but I guess my main point about that is when they knew when someone had that much power, it was never good. When religion had that much power over it. Also, I mean, the witch trials.
Oh, in Salem?
Yeah, not just Salem, all over Europe. I mean, it was obviously something that they were aware of, how the religious fervor took over people and thought these people were witches and basically murdered them.
Yeah.
But for just reasons. I mean, as they saw it, not really just reasons, but, you know, as they were threats to God and all that. So, I mean, the Founding Fathers were aware of this. They weren't in a bubble like we were today.
All right.
All right, we have a caller on the line.
Hi, you're on Freethought Forum. Can you give us a name or a nickname, please?
Hi, this is Ken.
Hi, Ken. How can we, what would you like to talk about today?
Well, I see your all's topic question up there. The Treaty of Tripoli, signed in 1800, was passed unanimously by the House and the Senate and signed into law by John Adams, the Founding Father.
Right.
Yes.
That treaty contained the sentence, America is in no sense a Christian nation. And there were many Founding Fathers in both houses still at the same time. I'd also like to say that church and state separation is to protect religion from government, but the reverse is also true.
Absolutely.
Government from religion. And that's just it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The caller, Ken, is exactly right. The Treaty of Tripoli did say the United States was in no way founded under a Christian nation. And it was passed unanimously. Everybody had a copy. It was ran in newspapers. There was no record of any opposition towards it. And if you look at Article 6 of the Constitution, says that any treaty that is passed is now the law of the land. So basically, we're not a Christian nation. I mean, it's law now. So.
Yeah. I know one thing that a lot of people say is, you know, like look at the money or look at the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever.
Well, most of that was done by fear, like the Pledge of Allegiance, communism. It wasn't, the original Pledge of Allegiance did not have God in it. Neither did our original money. It's all done in fear to say, hey, we're different from communists.
Yeah.
We believe in God. We're great. And
all that stuff was also done in the last century, right?
Yeah.
I mean I think in the early 1900s was when they added it to the money. I'm not sure.
And then the 1950s was when they added it to the pledge. I mean, the pledge has gone through many changes over the years, but In God We Trust is pretty much, I mean, a pledge, I guess not really that big deal, but it is a violation of church and state. But what are you going to do about that?
Well, you know, I don't know.
We also have many historians who like David Barton, who like to rewrite history. And they have a lot of dirty tricks up their sleeve. What David Barton likes to do is he'll take a quote and he'll use ellipses, which, if you don't know what those are, is like ... He'll separate the quote to take out where it pretty much says we're not a Christian nation, but make it sound like we are. So he pretty much rearranges things and pretty much has been called out on many of them. He's even made up quotes before.
So like the Treaty of Tripoli would be like, we are ... a Christian nation?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much, yeah. I mean, and he's made up a quote by Madison before, and the people at the Madison papers who run that just told him, stop saying that. You're completely wrong, and you don't know what you're doing. But people still listen to him because he's... All right, we have another call. We'll take that.
Hi, you're on Freethought Forum. Can you give us a name or a nickname, please?
Yeah, it's Rhonda.
Rhonda, how are you today, Rhonda?
Fine. Hadn't talked to you in a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, it has. I guess you're ready for for what I've got to say.
We're ready.
Ready.
Well, as far as Christian and as church and state, my theory is when they took that prayer out of the schools and stuff, they took the prayer out and they brought guns in. Do you remember the little old thing that Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow? My theory is that lamb that they talk about was the Lamb of God, and you used to, all the kids was happy to have the lamb there, when they were talking about literally a little lamb.
Right.
But and to me, it was the Lamb of God. And then they wondered what happened to the schools. It went from weeks to years, from days to weeks to years, and then all of a sudden the kids, even down to the atheist children, aren't allowed to speak about the way they believe in school. The little girl, what was it, 2 weeks ago, got in all that trouble for her beliefs because she's an atheist. So she couldn't write hers. But my point is that if they really want the kids back to what they used to be on their beliefs and how they believed, and they need to let them all tell how they believe instead of trying to be taught that there's something that they're not, or that they were raised different, something like that. But I do believe that since they took the prayers out of the church, that's where all the troubles come in, not just the drugs, but the guns. Everybody wants to kill everybody. It's all full of hatred in the schools anymore. And it's almost to a point where people are afraid to send their children to school. And that's so sad.
I want to touch on a point. You said the thing about prayer in school. The kids can still pray in school. That's why we have moments of silence and everything.
Yeah, moments of silence. But like when I was in school, I don't know what year you graduated, but I graduated in the 80s, and I went to South High School, and or it was South Middle then, and that's where I went to school. And of course, in grammar school, we said the Pledge of Allegiance every day. They even took out the Pledge of Allegiance because you say God, because it has the word God in it. No, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear so much stuff that it just don't. To me, it don't make any sense. It didn't hurt them when they were doing it. It ain't gonna hurt them now.
But it's.
Well, let me just ask. So you said they took the Pledge of Allegiance out of the school?
They're not allowed to say the word God in schools anymore. Yeah.
Well, you said
I have two.
I mean, it's been a while since I've been in a public school, like a high school.
Right.
But we definitely said the Pledge of
Yeah.
Allegiance every single morning.
Oh, yeah, we used to.
And the Pledge of Allegiance has
My
not been
children aren't
changed
allowed to say it.
since the 40s or 50s when they added the word God.
And even in
yes,
my-
it has not changed since then, and we still say it in schools.
Yeah, well, my grandchildren don't get to say it. Now, I have 4 grandchildren that are in school. So that's going by what I know. They're not allowed to say the Pledge of Allegiance because the word God's in it.
I mean, well, they could just take out the word God. They don't have to stop the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, I mean, the
but-
Pledge of Allegiance existed before the under God part was added into it.
And I want.
Right. One thing I think they need to do is, just leave the kids alone. Let them go to school and study and learn.
That's exactly right.
yeah,
We need to
that's-
leave the kids alone and not bring religion into a state
If
institution.
the parents want to teach them about Christ and Him crucified, He died, rose in 3 days, went and conquered death, hell, and the grave. Because y'all know that's how I believe. I'm not going to change my mind today.
I want to go. I want
Like
to
I
go.
said, I respect. Y'all believe the way you want to believe. I believe the way I want to believe. That's why it's Freethought Forum, and that's
Right.
why
Yes.
the other, people that do believe can call in and talk.
Yeah. I want to go back to a point you made.
Okay.
You were talking about how since they took prayer out of school and how guns and drugs got into school, but I don't find that a good excuse. At home, if they're Christians, they should be acting like Christians, and they should believe no matter what. So
Oh,
prayer in
right.
school
That's
shouldn't-
yeah, and that's where a lot of the trouble comes in. Is you've got so-called pastors that on Saturday night they want to get drunk and raise Cain, and then Sunday morning they want to go to church and be a preacher.
Well, that's
yeah.
more a problem with pastors than with.
Yeah, there's more
With the students.
problem with pastors than there are with schools anymore. You can't take your kids to church and let them be taught of Christ because the preachers don't even live it the way they're supposed to.
But then the parents should take up that responsibility at home.
Yeah,
Then.
it's definitely not the school's responsibility to
Yes.
teach religion to a child. It's either the parent's responsibility or the parent should provide some sort of tutelage outside of the school.
And that I agree with too.
I mean, the whole basis of our argument is that schools are a state institution, and our tax dollars, help to pay for public schooling and stuff like that. So it should be an environment that's safe for everyone, for Christians, for atheists, for Muslims, for Jews,
whoever.
for everyone.
And I would agree.
And if we bring prayer into schools, specifically a Christian prayer, that alienates and makes other students who are not Christian feel out of place at a place where they should feel most safe.
Right, where they should feel most safe. Now they can't feel safe with prayer or without prayer because of the guns and the violence and the way the world's just turning out. It's going to, see how was it my mother used to say, it's going to, but they're going to end up causing everybody bust hell wide open. But then again, I know y'all don't believe in hell, but I do. So at least we can talk, and I can give my opinion, y'all give yours, and still be friends,
Absolutely. We love it when you call in. We like having conversations with you.
But y'all have a good day today, and like I said, I hope I help some little child out there that's, maybe curious or wondering, what am I? Do I believe in God? Don't I believe in God? There's children at this point right now, some that are 5, 6, 7 years old, they don't know. And they can't be taught. The only way to know is for them to be taught. And if they're not taught, then, and that's it, like you said, that's up to the parents. That's not up to the teachers.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I agree with that 100%. Teachers aren't paid enough nowadays for what they do teach our children.
Believe me, as someone who's trying to be a teacher, I agree 100%.
Well, I tell you what, y'all have a good day, and I'm going to say God bless you. I have to.
We appreciate it.
Reason
And
bless
y'all
you.
have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Okay, I need to catch track of that. So yeah, I just basically don't buy that prayer out of school, guns in. I think most of the shooters, I don't know how many are atheists, but I think a lot of them are Christians. And that
I have
should
no
be
knowledge of that.
I don't either. It's just, I guess I'm just assuming. But just population-wise, I would assume the majority of them are. But it's just basically saying that it's not a good excuse. Morality should be something. If you're a Christian, you shouldn't want to go out shooting people.
Yeah. Well, we can teach morals without teaching
exactly.
religion.
You don't need morals without. Many societies had morals and didn't have the Christian faith. That's one of the things where people the Ten Commandments. You know, they say our nation was founded on 10 Commandments. I could see 3 laws possibly: kill, steal, and possibly lying, because you know you don't need to lie under oath.
Yeah, well, I mean, those specifically have been around much longer than the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, those go back a
so.
long time. I mean, the Ten Commandments is a product of its time, really, because there's many law codes that happened before that. And you look at the Ten Commandments, most of them are about how to worship God. And I mean, so that doesn't really fit in with our United States Constitution. That's just an excuse for people who want to say it's an important document for us and we need to have it displayed everywhere. Who cares?
It's an important historical document. I mean, I'd see it in a museum.
If you want, if you want to display it, I mean, and then people get mad when atheists want to display something.
Yeah.
But if you want to display it, you have to have equal or don't display it at all.
Oh, do you remember what state was it that put up that flying spaghetti monster?
It was there. It was Tennessee.
Was it Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It was
Crossville.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere in Middle Tennessee. Yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that. Even though it's against the Constitution, at least they're giving everybody a fair chance.
Well, it's a whole space where anyone can put up whatever.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt you. If you're a Christian, you're not going to be like, oh, flying spaghetti monster, oh, I'm deconverted.
Well, I mean, not just as a Christian, as an American, you should be fighting for anyone's rights to say anything.
All right, we have another call on the line.
Hi, you're on Freethought Forum. Can you give us a name or a nickname, please?
Brian?
Say again, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, Brian. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
What do you
would you
want
like to talk about?
I got a question about the separation of church and state. What exactly does that mean to you, too?
It means that the government has no right to intervene with the church, and vice versa. The church cannot intervene. They cannot make laws promoting a religion, making a certain religious lie.
But does it say that the church is not allowed to intervene in government affairs?
Yes.
Or just that the state is not allowed to create a religion that they can't force people to follow?
Masson was pretty clear that he meant it was a strict separation going both ways.
Yeah. It's like there can't be a state regulated or a state there can't be a state religion. So like
I understand that.
And then at the same time, churches should not influence legislation.
Okay, legislation. But then if a person, let's say I'm a teacher.
Okay.
And I want to lead my class in prayer. That is forbidden according to separation of church and state?
Yes, you're a state.
You are an employee of a state institution. Therefore, you are sort of a representative of the state as a teacher at a state institution.
It's just like if I
was to find that, but then it goes, to me, it contradicts the free exercise thereof.
But you're a government employee. It's just like I can't, if I become a teacher, I can't go and talk about my atheism.
So all government employees are not allowed to exercise their religion?
You're allowed to exercise your religion when you're not acting as an agent of the state. So on your own time, like the minute that school is over and that bell rings, you can walk outside and do whatever you please because you're an American and you have that right. But while you're acting as an agent for the state, as a teacher in a school, then you have to abide by the separation of church and state.
But I think you're contradicting yourself. You're saying that I have the freedom to do it, but then now you're making rules and regulations of where that freedom possibly exists. I mean, so
when you're an agent of the state, you have to abide by the laws of the land.
That's what the Constitution is, rules and regulations.
Allowed to pray in school? Could a kid lead the class in prayer?
Yes, the kid actually could. Not the class, but they could have something before school gets in.
Why couldn't the kid lead the class in prayer?
Because it's...
Well, it alienates other students.
But it alienates the Christian that's not praying.
No.
Yes, it does.
Because the Christian student can pray any time they want, except in the middle of class.
That's what the moment of silence is for.
But he can't pray out loud. He has to pray to himself. If he wants to pray out loud, or if he wants to lead the students in a prayer, the way I look at it is, as long as you're not forcing the kid, like, you better pray or else. If you're not, and then he gets in trouble, I can see one thing, if you're forcing somebody to pray. But if you're saying, look, let's bow our heads in prayer and silence, and a kid raises his hand and says, hey, I don't believe in God, then they could just say, okay, well, whoever doesn't believe in God, sit over there, or...
But then you're alienating that kid. You're making that kid a target for everybody else.
Yeah, you're
I'm not making it a target.
You're saying, go sit over there.
You are in your example, you're physically separating somebody from the group.
You're segregating your atheist students.
Or how about the Christians leave the room and go off school property or something?
Then they should do it before school starts.
Do it before. Go off school property and do it. Don't aggravate them leaving school.
The fact of the matter is that a Christian student has the entire day, except for the period that they're in class, to pray as much as they possibly want, as loud as they want, wherever they want, other than on state grounds.
I used to be a Christian. I prayed before all my math tests. I mean,
I just think, I guess I don't agree with that. I think I think people are taking separation of church and state and adding into it because what Thomas Jefferson wrote in another book that's not even in separation of church and state of what he meant. That might have been his opinion of what he meant, but you don't know what everybody, because you got to think there had to be consensus of everything that was written in there saying this is what we agree on.
There were other drafts.
His opinion.
There are other drafts that had just strictly
but those
related to church, but those didn't pass. Those didn't even go through.
You have to let us finish speaking. It has to be a conversation. You speak and then we speak.
Those other drafts didn't even go through. It was this draft, and Thomas Jefferson, in his writings to the Danbury Baptist, said it created a wall of separation. Madison also went through and explained how it worked both ways.
Then what's the point of free exercises thereof? What's the point of even having that in there if you're going to just limit to where that free exercise thereof is only going to be at?
Can you rephrase that? That was a little confusing to me. I'm sorry.
At the end of that phrase, it says the state will not, or the government will not, cause people to force them to believe in a religion, but they will also allow the exercise thereof of the religion. They won't stop you from worshiping a religion, but they won't make you worship the religion either. So if they interfere with schools, let's say I'm a Christian and I want to pray and I go to school. Right there, my freedom is cut off there.
You still have the freedom to pray. It's just to yourself.
And if I was a teacher, I can't go to school and say, you know what, I really want to pray right now. They're saying, no, you're a state employee. Well, then what happened to my right?
You could pray as a teacher.
What about, are you going to say all military?
If you're so worried about it, then stop being a teacher at a state institution and go to a private school and pray, because then you can pray outwardly as much as you want.
What about military personnel? Are you going to stop them from praying?
Nobody's infringing on your right to not be a teacher at a state institution.
And you can pray to yourself. You just can't relieve your students in prayer.
Yeah.
But what about military personnel? What about chaplains in the military? Are they not allowed to pray now?
I have no idea. I'm not in the military. I don't do any
research on the military. And you know what? When I was in the military, I was an atheist. And whenever they prayed before a 5-mile run, I thought it was pretty stupid at the time. I was like, whatever. God doesn't care about a 5-mile run. I did not pray. But I didn't feel singled out. I guess that's the thing. It's like me being an atheist, I never felt singled out. It's like now we're getting in a society where everybody's feelings are hurt. And it's like my feelings weren't hurt that other people want to pray. That's on them. I didn't believe in God. It didn't matter to me. That's how I looked at it.
Okay.
It didn't matter to me if they believed in God, but it mattered to them that I didn't believe in God. And it's like, well, that's your thing. That's your thing, you know?
But
and then I came to Christianity because I think in the end it's like, well, another thing you brought up, like how countries, they didn't have Christianity and they had morals.
Yes.
And they have a moral compass or whatever. But to me, their morals aren't absolute.
When you look at the ancient Jews, they weren't very moral. They pretty much stuck to thou shalt not kill me and your own tribe. They slaughtered a bunch of people. So, I mean, moral codes, I mean, it's relative to the time. I mean, slaughtering other people to gain land was how it was back then.
So okay, but do you think morality should be absolute?
No.
No?
No.
Well, then who's to say what's right or wrong then? One day murder could be right, and the next day it could be wrong. I mean, cannibalism.
It's situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so if you go to one of these tribes that are in South Africa or maybe in South America or one of these little islands that says they believe in cannibalism, they eat their own kind. Do you find that morally right or morally wrong?
Do they kill them to eat them, or do they eat somebody that died of natural causes?
Yeah. They eat them and sacrifice it to a god. I don't know.
Are they sacrificing themselves, or are they forcibly being sacrificed?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody wants to be eaten.
Well,
there are plenty of people in that.
I mean, even
now I don't know about that. There's a story in Germany I could tell you about, but I don't think you want to hear it.
Even if they're giving up themselves to be eaten or they're being forcibly eaten, do you find that morally right or wrong? Like, in your own honest opinion, do you find that morally right or wrong?
If we're speaking hypothetically, I'm ambivalent. I care neither way. I don't care either way.
Care neither way. Then why do you even care what morality is then?
I have morals. I'm
But you just say you don't care about what
a specific situation that you're presenting that is hyperbole.
Yeah.
But it happens. So if you were to go over there, they were willing to sacrifice themselves, and you're like, oh, would you be like, oh yeah, that's cool, as long as you guys are happy and that's what you believe in?
As long as you want, hey, if they want.
Or are you gonna say, well, you know, you guys people are kind of messed up.
I guess if they wanted to sacrifice themselves to their God, then
People sacrificing
Yeah.
themselves for people?
people
That has
do it
never
all the time.
happened ever.
But that could mean anything.
I've never heard of anyone sacrificing himself for anyone else ever.
Christians have sacrificed themselves for their
Jesus.
God. That's martyrdom.
Jesus sacrificed himself, according
Yeah.
to the book.
I mean, people do it all the time.
Who? I don't know. Some guy.
Oh, you're talking about Jesus?
Yeah.
Sacrificed himself?
Some guy.
Do you believe Jesus existed?
I don't even think a historical Jesus existed at this point.
Jesus is
I'm just not seeing the evidence
Jesus
for
is
it.
what I would categorize under cultural heritage.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of documents proving he existed during his time. All the Gospels were written after. It's kind of like King Arthur. It's just more cultural heritage than it is.
What language were the Gospels written in?
And it's,
Greek.
I don't know, how many different languages? I'm sure there's probably more than one.
But I mean, it doesn't matter the language. They were not contemporary of Jesus.
Yeah,
What
the fact
language
of the
was
matter
it
is that none of the literature is written in the time
No,
of
it does matter. Because what
Jesus.
specific language was the Gospel written in? What was the Gospel of Matthew written in?
Greek.
No, it was written in Hebrew.
Okay, well,
Okay, fine. It was written
what
in
does
Hebrew.
that have to do with the fact that...
It goes to show you guys don't even know what you're disbelieving in.
I don't know. I don't.
You're like, I don't believe in God, but you're
Tell
not.
me about Thor. Tell me about Loki.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
don't-
know about that?
I'm sure they're based on real people. At one time, there's probably somebody that was really strong, and they said, "Hey."
How many eyes does Odin have? Tell me about something that you don't believe.
Yeah, I don't claim to know everything.
I think everything has some sort of fact, or else it wouldn't be written. I think everything has some kind of.
So what about the flying spaghetti monster? It's a thing that we can talk about. Does it exist somewhere in space?
Well, I guess if somebody dresses up like a monster and flings spaghetti, they could be.
No. I mean like an actual flying spaghetti
Just
monster.
like Jesus. I
But
mean,
you know, see now you're using something that was purposely made.
Like Jesus?
like Jesus, the Odyssey.
Why would? Okay, here's the thing. You're saying Jesus. Why would anybody make up the story of Jesus? Why? Why would it?
People make up apocryphal stories to teach lessons every day.
Why would someone make up the Odyssey?
Why? Why would 4 people write about Jesus Christ? Why would 4 people write about it?
Do you know that there are 4 distinct people that wrote those books, or was there maybe one person that wrote all 4 of them?
Do you know there's not 4 people?
I don't know because I wasn't alive back when they were written.
I don't know. But I'm taking it by faith there's 4 people. So let's just take it by
On faith.
Okay,
Well, that's where we're gonna differ.
Yeah, you're
and
believing on something you have no evidence for.
There's 4 people. So let's just.
We're gonna have to cut this short. Do you have like a final anything you'd like to say about separation of church and state in America?
I just think you guys don't. I just don't think you guys look up information. You just.
I'm a historian. I'm a history
have a
major.
great
I know
day.
my information. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We yeah.
Some people call and try to hide at the show. It's not really conversation. We should have let that call go probably earlier. But
How many
we
eyes
didn't.
does Odin have?
50 for all I know.
One.
Oh, yeah, I figured he has his eye patch.
Yeah,
He's
it's an eye
awesome.
patch and a raven. Okay, so we're going to do our mid-show break. In case you're just turning in, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by them and by individual contributions.
Shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on community access television. We can also be seen streaming online. For fans outside the Knoxville area, go to ctvknox.org.
You can send us feedback at the email address on your screen. It'll be up there soon, maybe. Visit our websites, rationalist.org or knoxvilleatheist.org.
But don't wait, this is a call-in show, and we are live today, March 6, 2012. Viewers can call in now to the number on the screen.
All right, the Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets several times during the week. We have evening meetups for fun, food, and drink. ASK's purpose is to supply a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in the East Tennessee area. Visit the ASK website on the screen to learn more about us.
All right. I want to go to something because, you know, he said I didn't research my stuff. I guess I should give a reason, some history to myself. I have a degree in history, and as Dixie can attest, I also wrote papers, but she doesn't know that, but I also was researching this subject before we even started. I mean, this was something I read books on. So, I mean, I researched the subject. This isn't something, I don't know everything about history.
Well, the fact of the matter is that our topic today is on separation of church and state.
Yeah, it's not about
talking about the historical accuracies of the Bible and Jesus and stuff.
We got another call.
That's a little bit different. Hi, you're on Freethought Forum. Can you give us a name or a nickname, please?
Do what?
Can you give us a name or a nickname, please?
Houston.
Houston. All right. How are you today, Houston?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good at myself.
Good, good. What would you like to talk about?
I was just wondering exactly what your views were on the difference between the church and the state.
Could you elaborate some more on that?
Like, are you saying that you just don't think that church should be preached in schools, or we shouldn't have a moment of silence, or?
The moment of silence doesn't bother me. I believe that it was set up to protect both institutions. This isn't just an atheist matter. This is a Christian matter. People who practice Islam. This is something for every religion. I mean, it's to protect you, whatever faith you might be. But like I said, the moment of silence doesn't bother me. I just don't agree with the school-led prayer or teacher-led prayer or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so are you saying that you don't? Are you saying that you don't think that it should be in schools? It shouldn't be forced on students because you don't believe in God, or just period? Because
of the Constitution. I don't believe, if I'm a teacher, that I should be able to preach atheism to kids either.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your views, ma'am? What's your name again?
I'm Dixie.
Dixie. Hey. Oh, what's your views on it?
Yeah, my views kind of run in line with Everett's. Like, I think, public schools, I just want to be specific, public schools and not private schools
exactly.
are state-funded institutions. Everyone needs to feel welcome there, everyone needs to feel safe there, and you're not supposed to alienate or bully. So that means moments of silence are great. I don't mind it. It's a moment of introspection, or it can be a moment of prayer. It can be a moment to curse your teachers for the test they're about to give you. It can be any number of things, but it's not open prayer. Yeah. It's not the state advocating one religion over another. And that's that's where I stand on that.
I mean, does it make you, does it tick you off, or?
What, prayer in schools or moments of silence?
The whole thing is about having it in school.
I mean, I'm not really ticked off. I mean, I just don't think that religion belongs in a state institution.
Like other people, while they were having where they're having prayer, moment of prayer, or moment of silence, whatever you want to call it.
I don't care about the moment of silence, but public prayer is against the law. You won't get arrested for it in state institution, but it's definitely against the Constitution.
Yeah.
Oh, did it bother you, or, so it didn't tick you off?
Moment of silence is no. That's for whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Right, whether you want to pray or whether you want to just think about troops or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, I can understand why Dixie would be mad.
Why?
Because you look like you got hit in the face with a bag of hell no.
A bag of what?
Goodbye.
Bag of what?
Don't be a jerk if you call on the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was rude, and yeah. Don't call back don't call and be a jerk.
I can't even be offended. I didn't hear what he said.
I don't know what he said.
Maybe
but
he said like a bag of pixie dust, and I love like a special fairy princess or something. I don't even know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Come on. That was just uncalled for. Yeah, we're moving along.
Okay. All right. Separation of church and state. What about separation of church and state in institutions that are not schools?
Not school, as long as they're not government. If they're government run, then yes, you have a separation there.
I mean, like, is it a problem in any other state institution other than schools? Because I only ever hear about, schools, like prayers in school and, articles and stuff. And
yeah, I haven't really heard much outside of schools. Mostly it's people trying to force it on the schools. Like, I know Florida tried to pass a law where basically they can have anybody go up and have a call to prayer or whatever. Just trying to get, trying to promote Christian prayer in school, and it's just.
I wonder if maybe Pastafarians could have like a call to pasta or something, and then they would serve like spaghetti and meatballs.
I don't know.
I think a lot of people would join in.
All right, we have another call.
Another phone call.
Hi, welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we get a nickname for you?
Yeah, this is Mary.
Mary, how are you today?
I'm pretty good, thank you. And you?
Good.
Good.
Well, I was watching the episode. I came in kind of in the middle of it, but I did have a question.
Sure.
When it comes to praying in school, or even anything in regards to any religion, really, I thought atheism, you really don't believe in God. You shouldn't care of the actions of anyone else. It is a free country, free religion. So if you're really an atheist, why are you, I guess, advocating, acting like a church yourself?
I wouldn't say that we're necessarily acting like a church. The thing that we are concerned with mostly, and you can you can jump in if you think I'm taking this the wrong way. But the talking about specifically schools, prayer in schools, like we were saying before, the moment of silence does not bother us. It's when you exclude members of a group, be they Jewish, Muslim, atheist, agnostic, whatever. If you are instituting only Christian prayer in a school, that alienates alienates students in the school, and the point of going to a school is to learn and to feel safe and feel welcome. And that's really the problem that I have with it.
Right, and really, if you think about it in reality, it's really by population. I'm sure if you go in some populations that are mostly Jew, they're not going to pray to Jesus in school. So it's really a population issue.
I can't really say I've ever heard of a Jewish majority school having a problem with prayer in schools because they don't do it.
Unless it was a private school, then they wouldn't have a problem with it.
Right, so anti-religion. Nowadays, everywhere I go, it's like an anti-religion institution.
Now, see, now I'm going to bring the majority problem back to you, because the majority of Americans are Christians. So the fact that you are feeling... you're feeling like you're a victim because somebody is finally speaking up against prayer in schools.
But why do you care? You're an atheist. You shouldn't care.
I care because it's my right to not have prayer in classroom.
Is someone forcing you to pray in school?
If a teacher is instituting a prayer in a classroom, then yes.
And then if you're not...
Your whole time in public school, did someone actually force you to pray?
And if you're not, even if they didn't, you're still singling out the kids who aren't praying. And let me tell you...
Right, but I'm asking you, did someone force you to pray in school?
No, because prayer wasn't allowed in school. So, I mean, the moment of silence was just spend my own time to do what I wanted to. And I was a Christian then. But I would still stand up for the rights of others because I also believe in the Constitution and what was...
Right, but it's the United States of America. People already know how to be united regardless of religion.
But the Constitution is a major part of the United States of America.
Advocating anti-religion and broadcast, you're preaching anti-religion. You're actually acting as a church. And Satanism is a church. It's actually anti-religion based. So what makes you any different?
We're definitely not a church. We advocate for, I would say, equality more than anything.
Into anti-religion. I've been watching your guys' show, and it's
so really how am I, quote, anti-religion?
I would like to say we're more pro-reason.
Yeah, pro-reason. That's probably a better way to put it.
Okay, and then, so as a person, as a human being, earlier you said you don't care if you saw a human being being eaten.
That was a hyperbolic.
I personally won't want to see a human being being eaten.
So you don't care either way. So actually, your way of life is wrong.
My way of life is so wrong because I answered a question that somebody put to me to try and put me in a trap.
It was a hypothetical, and it was designed to be a trap.
But if you're confident 100% of your morals, which if you look, most solid morals that we have in most societies, they come from the basic religion.
They don't.
That would be wrong.
No.
Which is, really?
Yeah, really.
Sure. So give me an example.
Plenty of pagan religions had laws against murder and stealing and all that. I mean, the Ten Commandments was really nothing new.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is that you can look at the Ten Commandments, like the three major ones, no lying, no stealing, and no killing. These are philosophical issues and not religious issues.
Right. So that's it? Is that it to life? I mean, really, if you look...
Life is whatever you want to make of it.
But you're cool if someone is being eaten. You're cool, but you're not cool...
If a person specifically requests to be killed and eaten...
So you don't care. You just said on TV you don't care if somebody...
That person has free will. That person can do whatever that person wants to do with their life.
If someone prays in school.
But if they want to, if someone, the kids can still choose to pray in school. It's to themselves in the moment of silence. Prayer has not been outlawed in school.
You know what? I would agree with you. They shouldn't allow prayer in school. They should ban it. If I see someone forcing a child to pray in school, then I would say, you know what? This is getting out of hand.
But they're not, and we agree.
Now, I went to Catholic school, and I'm not Catholic. You know, I was brought up Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore. And I went to a private Catholic school. So you can imagine how much prayer we had to do.
Yeah. Right. And as a private institution, that school can institute as much prayer as it wants.
It didn't make me feel any singled out. It didn't make me have...
But you were a Catholic in Catholic school. Of course you're not going to feel singled out.
The point is, I don't see what's the big deal.
You don't see the big deal because you're in the majority. So whatever you want to do is exactly what everyone else
How would you
wants to
feel if the majority of this country was Islam?
But I need anyone to advocate for me.
You have all politicians ever, except for that one guy who's an atheist who goes to the Universalist Unitarian Church. All other politicians advocate for Christians. So you have pretty much all the power.
Advocating for many other religions in this country. So do we have to actually start passing laws?
We don't need to pass laws. We have the Constitution.
Yeah, we have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. Establishment Clause, all that. I mean, it's there.
I mean, it's already been established that there is a separation of church and state, that church can't influence state and state can't influence church.
Right, but schools are part of society as well.
They're part of the state, too.
Yeah, it's a state institution unless it's a private school.
Part of society. So you're teaching kids to be alienated from their religion.
No.
They know that when they go somewhere, they need to prove their religion.
They have Christian clubs.
They need to be, Well, they need to be taught tolerance to other religions, and they need to understand that praying out loud in the middle of a math test is not necessarily the best and most appropriate place for prayer.
So how would you balance this in your great, mind? How would you balance freedom of religion and being in religion in an institution like school?
The moment of silence.
It's supposed to teach you how to be a part of society as well.
Moment of silence, and also philosophy classes in high schools.
I mean, the moment of silence is for prayer.
How would you balance this? I'm asking you a simple question.
And we just answered that question.
Religion and how to do...
We've already answered that question.
Censoring religion.
We've been answered that. You have the kids have the moment of silence. They can pray. Prayer has not been out of school. You can pray
moment
yourself.
Moment of silence. So shut your mouth. Don't tell anybody you're praying. That's really what it comes down to. You to secretly pray. That's like censoring.
Okay, so how would you feel if I got up there and started telling kids God doesn't exist in school?
Right, but you're telling them to censor their religion, to hide it.
But I also...
The fact of the matter is that it's a state institution. It's a state institution. Separation of church and state exists. If you're in a state institution, you can't force your religion on anyone else.
And I mean...
But school is part of society.
It doesn't matter. It is a part of society, but it's a state institution.
Are you parents? Do you have kids in school?
No.
What does that matter?
I know, but I mean,
I'm a member of the state.
You would have to be in my shoes to understand how I feel.
We're just gonna wrap up this thought, and then we're gonna move on.
I have to censor myself. If I'm gonna be a teacher, I have to censor my atheism too. It's not something I can come out and just be like, hey, I'm an atheist. I mean, and kids, prayer is not illegal in school. The moment of silence, they can pray to themselves before a test. This idea that it is just ridiculous and not founded on any fact.
Yeah, the balance that she's asking us about is how do you balance being a religious person but going to a secular state institution? Well, you pray outside of school.
Exactly. I mean, why do you need school to be a Christian?
Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to go to a place where you can pray openly all the time, then go to a private school.
If you want to be a Christian...
As an American, you have the right to choose what school you go to.
I mean, if you want to be a Christian just during school, go to private school. I mean, you shouldn't get your rights over everybody else's. And like I said, what if we were an Islamic nation? Would you agree with it then? I know she's gone, but question to our audience.
And we're getting a lot of calls today.
Yeah. Ooh. Big debate. All right.
So, one thing I want to talk about. Something about Franklin wanted a call to prayer.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Benjamin Franklin actually wanted a call to prayer during the Constitution Convention with 4 other members. But it wasn't even voted on. They didn't even see it as being that serious of a thing.
Yeah. Was it like all of Congress?
No, he wanted all of them to pray, but only like 4 people backed him up.
Okay.
And so it's just kind of, like people like Patrick Henry, and I also like to add the fact that if you argue Patrick Henry's side about separation of church and state, how he didn't want to be a separation, doesn't matter because you're arguing a losing side. That's what they like to do. They argue the losing side, acting like it still has validation today.
So playing like a devil's advocate, or do you mean actually arguing for it passionately?
People like David Barton, who's a pseudo-historian, actually argue for it passionately.
Okay.
Which doesn't hold up because it didn't win.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't even, like I said, they didn't take it serious. Like the caller said, Treaty of Tripoli passed unanimously, had the quote that we were not founded on a Christian nation. Also in Article 6 of the Constitution says that it should not be a religious test for holding public office. I mean, there's no mention of God in the Constitution. What people will want to call and argue, or try to argue, is there's a mention of God in the Declaration of Independence.
Does it mention God, or does it mention a creator?
I think it says God, if I remember correctly, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, not law.
Yeah.
It is our grievances with England. It's before we were established as a nation. Don't get me wrong. It's an important document, but it's null and void with everything else. All right, we have another call. Hi, welcome to Freethought Forum. Can we get a nickname?
Hi, yeah, this is Don, D-O-N.
Don, how are you today, Don?
Hey, Dixie, doing just fine.
What would you like to talk about today?
Well, actually, I was just, you've obviously hit on a real hot-button topic today, and I'm somewhat appalled at the confusion of so many of the last few callers in terms of the separation of church and state, and the school issue in particular. And you know, the one thing that keeps coming to my mind over and over again, because I'm assuming most of these folks are Southern Baptist or fundamentalists when they're calling in, is how would they feel if their child attended school tomorrow and one of the teachers happened to be a Muslim cleric, and then they had these students, you know, on a prayer call and pray to Mecca 3-4 times a day. You know, basically, let's flip the coin. Sometimes I think the adage of hell hath no fury as a woman scorned should be maybe changed to hell hath no fury as a Christian scorned. After centuries of persecuting everybody else, they can dish it out that they can't take it.
Yeah, they definitely
no,
have
it's not saying that we're persecuting anybody else per se. We're just allowing everybody to do their own thing.
Yeah, they have
So really, that was the only thing I was calling about, guys.
So let me just ask you a quick question before you go. So do you agree with the moment of silence like we've been advocating?
Well, yeah, a moment of silence to me is perfectly acceptable because it allows everybody to do their introspection in whatever way they feel is suitable. It doesn't impose any other viewpoint. It doesn't alienate anyone. And, you know, just as you said a few moments ago, you're like separating people out. You know, basically, if you're instituting a religion such as, well, not instituting, but let's say we have a prayer, a Muslim prayer, or a Jewish prayer, or a fundamentalist Christian prayer. It doesn't even have to be an atheist, but if there is another student in that room, let's say a gay, lesbian, bi, transgender student, and they lead a Christian prayer, and basically my experience in most fundamentalist churches is that, you know, they tend to preach more of hate the sinner, but hate the sinner.
Love the sinner.
Is that what I'm trying to say? Yeah. More or less. Basically, you're alienating all kinds of people when you institute that. So I was just, after hearing all these people that can't seem to grasp the concept of this separation, I just had to chime in there.
Well, we appreciate your voice of reason.
Yes, it's very appreciated.
Very, very good, guys. Thanks for doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Voice of reason, wow.
Refreshing.
After we've been yelling about prayer for the last hour almost.
I know. And that's, you know, that reminded me, like, let's just replace atheists with, like, I don't know, Jehovah's Witness or something, or somebody, or Buddhist, or, you know, Shinto, or Taoist, or something like that. I mean, like, one could argue, one could classify, like, you know, Taoism, I guess, as a sort of an atheist religion. I mean, I wouldn't want to give it that title, but I've heard other people call it that. I mean, you know, how does one involve a Buddhist or a Taoist in a Christian prayer? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's excluding others. It's against the Constitution.
Yeah.
So these arguments, and you can still pray in school. So this argument that prayer is gone and schools are now full of guns and drugs, that's more of a problem at home. And don't find excuses for why your kid is doing these things.
Yeah.
All
right. It's time to start wrapping things up. We appreciate all the callers that called in. So go out and get your pen and paper if you still want to contact the show. We don't have time for another caller, unfortunately.
Yes. Sorry,
I know somebody just called in. This has been Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Please send us feedback. Leave voicemail at 865-272-9060 or email freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. Bye-bye, everyone.